So it was actually probably less than a couple of hours ago that I recorded my first truth bomb today, and I have to initiate this one because this is a news flash, America. Here is the ultimate revelation of everything I've been trying to reveal to you for some time, and it's on display on the front page of the New York Times right now. Basically, they have propped up once again America's least hated banker in their own phraseology. Jamie Dimon is the hero that just staved off potentially an economic collapse and bank run because of Chase spearheading a $30 billion investment into Signature Bank as a result of last week and 2 weeks ago runs that they are suggesting is reminiscent of what took place, and they said 15 years ago. It's more like 14 years ago in this particular instance, and the math is always a funky on these things, but based on Bear Stearns and what took place during Bear Stearns, and it's a revisionist history. First of all, Jamie Dimon and Chase didn't initiate everything that was taking place with the run from Bear Stearns. I'd highly encourage you to read William D. Cohen's book, House of Cards, if you want to know the absolute details. But on the surface level, it worked out because the federal government put the top banks of Wall Street in our financial system together to try to organize a structure to create a guarantee against systemic contagion that they all were concerned about because of the ludicrous bets that Bear Stearns management was involved with of course, what would become the housing collapse. And they knew where it was going. And it was the first kind of shot over the bow, if you will, at that time. And of course, Lehman Brothers famously wouldn't play ball. Everybody else did, but they did so with the guarantee of the United States government through the Federal Reserve, which came through Federal Reserve Act 13.3 through a process known as Maiden Lane. And ultimately, that led to trying to thwart the contagion, but it just basically put a Band-Aid on it until Goldman decided to create the run in the repo market, and then led to the collapse and the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers. And they were the only investment bank that didn't get saved or absorbed in the 2008 great financial crisis, led to everything that I'm, have been revealing to you. But it's just, again, symptomatic and reflexive of the mainstream media. The New York Times has basically put on a pedestal Jamie Dimon because Chase is the largest bank in the United States and one of the largest in the world, if not the largest. And they did, by the way, take the least amount of bailouts, but they were also deeply, deeply involved in everything that took place. And famously, some of the best reporting at the time was Matt Taibbi when he put Elaine Fleischman as a whistleblower on top of what the the cover of Rolling Stone said at the time was the $13 billion witness, because ultimately Jamie Dimon and Chase had to pay $13 billion themselves for their role in the deceptive acts and practices and liar's loans and everything that they were involved with to skirt, because Jamie Dimon was meeting directly with Eric Holder at the time in the Department of Justice, working things out, and they were just as guilty as everybody else. And they, of course, absorbed, was it Morgan? They absorbed Merrill. And here they are on the front page of the New York Times. And by the way, Jamie Dimon and Chase has been up to their eyeballs in criminal behavior for the last 7 years. They were convicted of a RICO violation in insider trading on the metals market. They were involved with the LIBOR scandal. They were involved with suborning witnesses and all sorts of different things, as well as being pretty much the cover story of the ICIJ's FinCEN files and money laundering for some of the worst actors in the world. And my theory is that a lot of that money laundering was premised to create the buffers in the Dodd-Frank law that, of course, then went to all sorts of ridiculous things. And I know many of you are probably a little bit more aware of the recent revelations that Jamie Dimon and Chase were deeply involved with Epstein. Well, of course they were, as they were other high flyers like Bernie Madoff. And that's just the things we know about. So again, guys, why I'm trying to get you to get on board to create a populist tidal wave to purge corruption and to invest $13 in the truth is because the truth has got to have value. We live in this country, and I was just having this conversation, and I'll finish with this. With a colleague of mine, and I mean, I just want you to look around at the way the world's played out in demonstrations and things that are going on that are reminiscent of everything we're talking about. But I want you to compare and contrast what's happened in the United States. First, in France and Greece and Israel, all of these protests are welling up from the people that are across the board. And as it turns out, it looks like the media, particularly in France, are definitely with the pensioners and not with the elite. Okay, that we call them the elite, the criminals. Okay, those who have complete control. And so you've got a populist wave to thwart the corruption, and that's happening in all sorts of places that are actually wanting to be democracies. But it's not happening here. And what did we see in our protests over the course of the last several years? It was a black and white issue. It was literally Black Lives Matter that they allowed to go, gangbusters, and I really think that they did in a crazy way. A lot of weird stuff behind that, but then of course MAGA. So what we have is a race sort of juxtaposition here, when meanwhile the information that I am revealing to you literally connects those two, because the predation of the 2008 Great Financial Crisis at first targeted and basically perfected its scheme by predating on African Americans. And then it evolved to get the rest of the country. But not more importantly, in addition, they connected that through the pipeline and financial engineering through money managers into the pensions, which are mostly the white working class, which ultimately constituted what became MAGA. We're getting played for the fool. They're pissing on our heads telling us it's rain. They must have thought we were some kind of new fool. And I knew the greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world he didn't exist. And I brought you the truth, the granular mammoth. I mean, from the Big Bang, and it is the Big Bang. That's what it is. It's the Big Bang. It's got to be the Big Bang in your mind, because we've got all of the evidence. And I just got word from Miami that I have more evidence of more cover up in the courts of actual criminality that the courts are allowing in this particular case, which is insane. And a lot of this stuff is what the mainstream media is all over Trump about, which he is guilty and he should be taken down. But the same exact thing is happening and has happened to millions of people, unfortunately, that the courts are allowing because they're working for the financial system that has pulled the wool over everybody's eyes and has complete control. You live in a corporate fascist state undergirded by a criminal syndicate that uses socialism to fuel the mafiocracy that's fueling race wars and fascism. Come on, guys. If you believe in integrity, if you believe in dignity, if you believe in liberty and sustainability, together we can rise to defeat tyranny. Please join us. Invest $13 into the resurrection of the truth. This is exodus from bondage to the resurrection of the truth. I don't know what else to say. It's our time. It's history. It's right in front of your face. I'm right here. Onwards. Failure is not an option.